Welcome everyone to the May 1st Newmarket Town Council Business Meeting. I'd like to begin with the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Best of the year.
Just a couple of bookkeeping things. Councilor Nazaro and Councilor Pike are excused for tonight's meeting. I see a hand raised.
Where's the last one?
He's telling you that right now.
Oh,
He's traveling on business. He's in New York.
Councilor Nazaro and, that's Councilor Nazaro and Councilor Pike are traveling. But they'll be back next time if you want to come back and visit with them. Okay. We're going to start tonight with the link together. We're going to move the agenda around a little bit to, excuse me, thank you for reminding me. Before we begin tonight's meeting, I want to just have a moment of silence, please, for Jenny Griswold. She was on Newmarket's first town council, and she just passed away recently, and she was a very, very nice lady and gave a lot to the town. So just a moment of silence, please. Thank you. We are going to move the agenda around a little bit tonight and start with the Link Together kids. They're going to give us an update on their accomplishments, and they're going to be asking for permission to open a lemonade stand in the Pocket Park. So without further ado, do we have a...
Still should be there.
Stool there? Just
Okay.
put the speaker down.
Let's move the mic down now.
Yeah. Okay.
Hello, I am Katie. Thank you for allowing us to present to you and the community what we have been working on this past school year. We have been very busy. First, we wrote a funding proposal to State Street discount for $250 to hold a family literacy night in early November. Our funding proposal was accepted, and we received the money to work with Mrs. Ballantyne to hold a family literacy night for the school. Avery Richardson is next.
We wrote and taped with the help of Chris Williams 3 PSAs on wastewater management for Channel 13. Paige Bosworth is next. We held our lemonade stands every Wednesday at the park last summer. We sold regular lemonade, pink lemonade, iced tea, and cookies. We raised $286.10. We used that money to buy plants to put in the garden. We also weeded and watered the garden. Sam McCullough is next.
Just a second, I just gotta find where I put it. Come on. Okay. We put, oops, I don't even need this thing. We put on 2 plays for the Pines at Thanksgiving. One was called A Turkey for Thanksgiving. The other was a Pilgrim and Native American play about George and Mary's first Thanksgiving. Then we closed by singing a song. Avery Clark is next. Where do I sit?
We researched the internet for volunteer thank you messages that we liked because we know how much times it takes to volunteer, and we wanted to thank the residents that take the time out of their schedules to volunteer for our town. In the spirit of giving, we chose 5 that we liked and printed them out to put inside the thank you cards that we made for the volunteers that serve a committee for our town. We also made them snowman ornaments out of puzzle pieces. We gave them to Mr. Steve and Kathy to hand out. Mia Smith is next.
We celebrated Make Your Mark Week, which was the week of October 17th through 21st. This is a special week for the youth across the country. This week is a week to set aside to honor the youth for volunteering in their communities. It was a busy week for us. We came in front of the town council and received a proclamation officially declaring that week Make Your Mark Week in Newmarket. Avery Clark is next.
We held our family literacy night on November 14th. Mrs. Ballantyne helped us. Phil and Azario read The Three Little Pigs, and we made pig and wolf puppets. Mr. Higginbotham read The Giving Tree. We made apples and wrote a gift that doesn't cost money on each one and decorated a tree with them, and Mrs. Hopi read Sylvester and the Magic Pebble. Then we went on a pebble hunt to find the red pebble. We held a book swap that night, and each participant helped us to write a story. Kate Geyer is next.
We painted over 200 blue stars, drew Christmas designs on one side, and put names of veterans on the other side for our annual honor tree. Janice Rosa provided us with the names of the veterans. Then we went with Janice to the bandstand in Pocket Park and hung the stars and trees in honor of the veterans. Katie Morgan is next. We held our first annual coat drive with the assistance of Maureen Wade from Prudential Reality. We met with Mr. Andriski, Mr. Higginbotham, and Dr. Hayes to present our idea. They approved of us putting a collection box at the elementary school and 2 boxes at the high school. We designed a flyer and sent it out so that people would know that we were holding the drive. Our goal was to collect 100 coats. We collected 74 coats, 27 pairs of gloves, 16 pairs of snow pants, 42 hats, 35 pairs of boots, and 25 scarves. Mia Smith is next.
We are in the process of planning this year's 4th Arbor Day celebration. We have been working with Mr. Steve, Diane Hardy, Mary Reynolds, and Phil since January. It will be at the end of the month. We are holding a story or poem contest. Youth can take a picture of a tree and write a story or poem about the picture. There will be first and second place awards in each category. The winners will read their entry at the celebration. We have designed trophies to give to the winners. Phoebe Swiatek is next.
Finally, we would like to ask you for permission to hold our lemonade stand at the Pocket Park this summer on Wednesday from 11 to 2. The proceeds will again go to purchasing things for the Pocket Park. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Councilor Bentley?
Well, a couple things. I want to thank you all for coming. Thank you for the great Pledge of Allegiance. I think you should come every week because it never sounds good until you guys are here. Thank you for your cards. I've certainly enjoyed in the last 3 years your Christmas cards. And I'd like to also make a motion to allow the Link Together children to open up the lemonade stand in the Pocket Park again.
Second? Do I have a second? All
Second.
right. Councilor Pickering, second. Please call the roll.
Council Wright?
Aye.
Council Pickering?
Aye.
Councilor Carmichael?
Aye.
Council Bentley?
Aye.
Council Levy?
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. Any other? And I would just like to thank you all for what a wonderful job you did on the application that you sent me for the donation. It was very well done. I emailed you earlier saying, you know, you should be very proud of the presentation that these folks just put on, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot of successful entrepreneurs and other folks coming out of this group. So thank you all very much for coming, and we really appreciate it. And I hope you make a lot of money.
That was precious. There's that guy. And I like the Mr. Steve. It's so much shorter than Mr. Administrator or Form. Cutting syllables right down.
I just want to know if we can call you Mr. Steve.
Quicker meetings, much quicker meetings.
Yeah, Mr. Steve.
It's so much quicker. I digress.
So moving forward on the agenda, would anyone from the public like to make any comments or statements? Seeing none, we will close public comment at 13 past 7. And now we have a public hearing for any of the agenda items that are going to be discussed tonight or voted on. Does anyone want to speak to any of those? Seeing none, we will close at 7:14. I think that was almost a minute. Next on the agenda, Town Council to consider the acceptance of minutes for April 17th, 2013 workshop. Do I have a motion?
Motion to accept the minutes for the April 17th, 2013 workshop.
Second.
Any comments or questions regarding the minutes? I just had a couple of quick ones. Just for clarification, I think it's important to do. If we go to page 6, just so everybody knows where I am, on page 6 of the packet, there was a statement made about the amount of money that was going to be generated, and it says the senator will get those figures, but thought the increase in the gas tax would bring in the way I read this, $1 billion over a 10-year period, or an additional $1 million each year. I don't know if that was, maybe I'm misreading it, but I think if it's $1 million a year, it would be $10 million over 10 years. Did I maybe?
I believe that the senator misspoke.
Oh, okay. I wasn't trying to point that out. I didn't know if that was what was said.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, you might want to just so people don't, I don't know if you want to amend them or not. I'm just bringing it up. On page 8, regarding the discussion to consider the minutes, I believe what I said, it was regard to the Sky Bridge, and it said the developer's obligation should reach $65,000 rather than $15,000. I wasn't really sure on the number, and I just want to make sure because it may not be exactly the number, and it was an approximate. So I just wanted to make sure no one comes back someday and says that was the wrong number. And just a couple more. On page 11, excuse me. Never mind 11, there was one other one. Excuse me, 1 second. I think that's fine. That's fine for now. Yeah, Council Pickering.
I have one on 11.
Yeah.
It's Mike Lang, L-A-N-G, instead of Land. Let me just scroll
Thank you.
down.
That was the one I couldn't find, by the way, but thank you. Save me.
My yellow sticky notes are
Yeah.
awesome. You have others?
Nope.
I have one on page 13, unless someone else has something.
Nope, go ahead.
Okay, 1 second here.
Pages, I don't know.
13 in the packet. Okay, we
Page
talked
9,
about joining a regional dispatch service, and it should also say, or adding other communities to our existing dispatch center. That's what was stated that evening. And I have a question about these changes that we make on the minutes. My assumption is that she goes back to the tape and verifies all what we're saying. We're not rewriting history here.
No,
It needs to be accurate.
yeah, and I think the council's recollection is how we usually do it, but I don't know that Ellen has to go back to the tape. I mean, yeah, I mean, I think generally what we do is if no one objects at the council, we go forward with those changes.
Thank you.
They're your minutes, so there should be a summary of what happened at the meeting, so it's your recollection, unless something controversial. We try not to go back to tapes.
Scrolling.
While you're doing that, Larry, just on page 13, that was the last one that I couldn't find. There was a comment about the snow removal that you had asked about and looking into it. And I'm not bringing up this to parse words, but I just want to make sure that, that we're clear. What I said was that I agreed that we should look into contracting, but the towns that I had contacted in the past didn't do an all or none, but rather they used some town trucks, and then they did some outside contracting. So I just wanted to, make the context of that a little bit more clearer. And other than that, is there any other changes, or are we okay with it? Please call the vote.
Counselor Wright?
Aye.
Counselor Pickering?
Aye.
Counselor Carmichael?
Aye.
Counselor Bentley?
Staying absent.
Counselor Levy?
Aye. Motion passes 4-0 with one abstention. Next on the agenda is the report of the town administrator.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Charter Commission election on May 14th is fast approaching. I've reached out to all of the candidates to offer an opportunity to meet with me if they had any questions about the process and our current form of government. The Newmarket Business Association will be holding a candidates forum on May 7th in the Town Hall Auditorium at 7 p.m. It'll also be broadcast live on Channel 13. The Town Council will have to set up times on May 14th to work at the polls, as well as the majority will have to be present at the end to help with the ballot counting and to certify the vote. Councilor Nazaro cannot be one of those councilors because he is a candidate that day. Just also, if you hear any questions and people come up and ask you questions about the Charter Commission or the process, you can forward them on to me or have them give me a call, and I'll try to answer those as well if you need any assistance there. The building officer is happy to report that the Newmarket's insurance service, the Town of Newmarket's Insurance Services Office Building Code Effectiveness Grade is in and has improved. What is that? Every 5 years or so, the ISO evaluates a community's building codes for effectiveness. A score of 1 is the best possible, and very few communities have obtained that. And a score of 10 is the worst, and many communities have that distinction. The last time ISO evaluated Newmarket were Class 5 for residential and Class 5 for commercials. We've updated it to Class 4 in both categories. Why this is important is that insurance underwriters utilize this when determining hazard insurance premium discounts. The better a community scores, the greater the potential discount. Move from one class to the next may only garner a 1% additional discount, but amongst many ratepayers, it does have some value to the community. And I can tell you that the building officer is working to address other issues to try to lower that as well. So
What is savings?
it depends on what your home would be.
Thousands?
It depends on the value of your home. It's individual insurance, it's not town insurance.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Councilor Pickering.
I have heard for many years of the ISO ratings. It's never fully been explained to me, nor have I been given any document to let us know what it comprises of. What do we need to do to get to Class 1? Is it possible to get a document, and I don't mean a 50-page document, but something cut down so it would show if you want to be in Class 3, you need to do this. To get to Class 2, you need to do that.
I'll have the building inspector provide that.
Thank you.
Councilor Bentley.
I guess, are you done, Mr. Administrator? You
Yep.
updated?
No, I've still got my report.
Why don't you finish your report, and
Yep.
then we can ask questions?
Yeah. I'm sorry.
The just to let the council know that the Municipal Association will be holding a training session for local officials on this Friday, from 9 a.m. to 3:30 in Dover. This will provide officials opportunity with an overview of the right to know law, town governance, public employment law, liability law, and other additional training. Interactive discussions will offer an opportunity to test scenarios, discuss concerns, ask questions, and share ideas. If you're interested in registering, please let me know, and I'll register you. I know Council Pike is registered to attend, and I'll be attending as well. The next, I've asked the IT director to secure a proposal to update the town website. Well, it's been a great tool in the past. We still need to have the site that is more user-friendly and make it easier for people to get information, and especially in a timely manner. I hope to have proposals in by the end of the fiscal year so we can move forward on this shortly. I know we're going to be meeting with one vendor next week. Basically, I want to make it simple so people can get the information quickly and try to get more stuff out there. Also, just after reviewing the calendar and sending the information to Town Council, in July we'll be meeting the second and fourth Wednesday instead of the normal 1st and 3rd due to the 4th of July holiday. And just 2 items on my unwritten report. First, as the council is aware, that we have begun marking crosswalks differently to try to improve visibility. Instead of having the former 2 bars across and has marks, we're going to do what they call the Continental. Federal Highway Authority says it's easier to see, especially at night, which are the bigger blocks that you're seeing. Town Hall, in front of Town Hall already has that, so you'll be seeing that throughout the downtown. The second item is that I will be meeting with a representative from the town of Epping tomorrow to perambulate a portion of the town line. So for those who don't know what that is, that's we make sure that the borders are where the borders are supposed to be.
Could I go?
Sure. 8:30. We're going to be meeting out on,
Grant Road?
no.
Gampley Road.
Yeah, Camp Road.
Off
Yeah.
Grant Road,
Yeah.
yeah.
So we're just going to, and I think we're only looking at that one due to a controversy.
Oh, okay, that's the one that was moved.
Yeah. That's all I have tonight, Mr. Chair.
Counselor Bentley.
Couple things. Now in the preambulation, because I was, we had a couple walks and they got canceled because of weather and got canceled because someone had surgery. But I hope, before your time, Mr. Administrator, I came back, I had to attend a meeting in Lee with the Epping and Lee chairs, and it's a state law, and I hope we're standing firm. They moved a granite marker that is a town boundary and a county boundary. It's in clear sight. Pretty much have said, I don't like it where it was, so I'm hoping that night when I brought it to the council, we agreed we were going to do whatever we needed to do, as did the Lee Council the night I was there, or the Select Board the night I was there. So I'm hoping we still stand. It's been there for, I don't know what he told, 142 years, and then someone decided they didn't want it. It's just a granite marker. But anyway, I hope we stand firm on that. And then you had said you have had people asking you questions on the Charter Commission. I mean, questions on what they would do, what the commission does itself, and because I guess it's a fuzzy area almost to me when I started reading some of the different things that are online now and different questions to ask and what this commission could possibly do and not do. As much as get rid of us, have a mayor, have one board, and have any people approached you with those kind of questions? They have.
Yep.
But you can't really advise them because that would be quite a.
I can't tell them what forms. I don't recommend a form, but I could say yes. You could have any.
You're just
a
saying
charter
yes,
commission can review any form of government that the state of New Hampshire allows. So they can go from everything from what Manchester has, which is a strong mayor and board of aldermen, to a old-time 3-member select board with traditional town meeting. You can go to any of those forms in between. The Charter Commission can recommend that.
Do you have a list? Are you compiling a list of, one of the things we spoke about before is an area of where we are out of compliance, what things? Do you have that, or are you working?
We do. The town clerk and I have been working on that. Again, we can advise the Charter Commission, we only can do so if we're invited, since they're an independently elected board. I hope they do so, but we will wait until they're elected, and then we'll provide that information to them.
Only if they ask?
Only if they ask. I'm hoping they'll ask.
Interesting. Okay. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Counselor Carmichael? I didn't see your
My
lights
question
on.
is, do you have any idea how much time you'd be spending with the Charter Commission? My concern being, we've got all these other big projects coming up, so
I don't know what they're gonna want to do. That's the issue. Odds are, if the commission needs assistance, I will be spending time with the Charter Commission. It's not, I mean, if we're gonna try to use outside sources, hopefully they'll do some of their own research, but I may have to help them point them in the right direction too. So that's one of my concerns, and I did bring it back up to the council with the goal-setting sessions, that with that adoption, that's another project that's been added on to the list.
I just don't want it to interfere. I know you have an obligation to do it, and we want you to do it. I just don't want you to, sludge the other, push
Nope.
out. Okay.
We'll figure it out.
Because any update on the new water and sewer committee or anything?
Nothing new at this point. The water and sewer superintendent will be in at the workshop to update the process.
Thank you.
Any other questions? I have just a couple. I saw the crosswalks. Just a question for the ones in town. I'm assuming they're going to be repainted as well?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. And I'm just asking, maybe somebody can look into it. Somebody had brought up to me possibly using a blue. They had some kind of, like a bright blue that's very easily seen, and I was just thinking because of maybe somebody can look into the safety options because of the, I guess, the iridescence of it or whatever. It might be a good thing to have just because of the traffic and what's going on, and with so much traffic going downtown. I don't know if maybe someone can just.
Yeah, you mentioned that to me before, and I know the town of Hampton does that. It actually, it's not because of visibility, it's for aesthetics, they do blue. Like Durham does red.
Well, if there's one that's more.
It's white is the color,
Okay, all right.
and it's what you put in there is the important thing. When they paint it, they actually spread glass powder in there. That makes it reflective.
Okay.
So.
I just wanted to
Yep.
make sure we had as much going for us as we could
Absolutely.
on the downtown. And just one other thing on the charter. So, you have a charter commission. Do they normally have counsel? In other words, I'm not familiar with, how charter commissions are generally set up, but I just need to ask the question. There's going to be a lot of legal issues coming up.
They will have
And-
access to the town attorney.
Yeah, so what I guess I'm wondering is, because I saw a couple of different things, maybe an intern working with them, or possibly you, and I have no problem with you being at the meetings or answering questions. And I would hope that there would be a format in place that if they really need, sort of like with the Economic Development Committee, we're hopefully going to be bringing on a consultant. And that consultant is going to be directing us and helping us and guiding us as to the types of businesses that may or may not be appropriate for the town, et cetera. The Charter Commission is going to have a plethora of questions, that are going to come up, and whether they're legal, whether they're not, what's appropriate and what not. And, I just thought, if it's you that's giving them, I got to say
Yeah, I
it
can
because
answer,
people
but
have asked me.
I can
But
answer.
if
I'm
it's-
not an attorney.
No, I know that, but all I'm saying, and the only reason I'm bringing it up is because I wouldn't want people to say, well, he directed him to do this, or I'm just, that can happen.
Let me throw this
So I
out
just
there. I
wanted
want to, and stop it now if there's anything out there saying this. I've met with a couple people. The first thing I say to them, I am not here to advocate any positions. I am here to give you the options that are allowed by state law. Any legal advice is provided by the town attorney or any attorney the commission wishes to hire, because that's their right. Further on, the Secretary of State has to sign off on the charter, the Attorney General has to sign off on any charter amendments, and the Department of Revenue Administration has to sign off. So I just want to make sure that there is no I am not it's against my professional ethics to endorse a certain plan, except, of course, to keep an administrator or manager. That's the only one we're allowed to advocate for. But other than that, I can't say, well, I think this way is better than that way. I always say, this is what happens if you get this one, this is what happens if you go this route.
Okay.
So I just want to make sure if there's any belief out there that that's not happening.
What I want to be clear on is that I'm not suggesting that's your intent. What I am just bringing up is people's perceptions. So, and this is not, I don't want to belabor it, I just want it to be stated that people's perceptions can sometimes take on a life of their own. And I think, having been on the council now for 2 years, we've all experienced that at times. So I'm just putting it out there, I don't have the answer. For example, when most towns do a charter over, does the town administrator usually work with them, or do they hire someone to work with them, or how does it normally play out?
It's about 75% somebody from the administration works with the charter commission. The other 25% of the communities do not have that. One of the reasons is one of the things people look at is whether or not they're going to keep a town administrator, or a town manager, or city manager. So they say, well, we don't want them, and and that would be my recommendation, would say, I will go in there during that time, but I would not be part of any discussion, because they need to have an open and frank discussion when they discuss the position of the town administrator, whether or not we need one. Again, that's part of the discussion. Everything's on the table. And I know that I've been doing this profession for a while, and yes, perceptions are out there, but I can tell you, I can only put out there that I've been here 9 months, that I'm pretty much a straight shooter, and it's black and white. I do not give any other information. I do not try to influence any which way. I only give recommendations, and whatever the position of the commission would be, that's it.
The only other thing I would ask on this is, if there are specific things that we are out of compliance legally, I cannot imagine, because you said earlier when, I think it was Councilor Bentley, but maybe it was Carmichael, when you said, I can let them know, but I can't make them do it. My sense is if the town charter is out of compliance or not legal, that should be addressed. I just have to say that.
Oh,
because
absolutely.
I can't imagine knowing that something's not in compliance and we're not addressing it, so I'll just leave it at that. Are there any other questions regarding Councilor Wright?
It was mentioned that they can use a town attorney or seek their own attorney.
Mm-hmm.
Do we have that money in the budget for them to, and would there be a limit on what they could actually?
The state law says as soon as that charter commission was formed, that we had to create a line item and put $100 in there.
Okay, so.
So there are other attorneys that they could go to ask questions. The Municipal Association does have free attorney, legal advice if they have questions like that they could go to. But they do have $100. But odds are, if they have legal questions, we will provide them with legal counsel.
Thank you.
Okay. And I think that's about it. No more? Any other? Sure? Okay. Next on the agenda, excuse me, under old business, we have ordinance and resolutions that are going to be in the second reading, and we are going to act on these tonight. The first one is Resolution 2012-13-51, the withdrawal of $26,730 for engineering services to replace a water line on North Main Street. Do I have a motion to accept? Councilor Bentley?
Motion to approve amendment to Resolution 2012-2013-35 relating to the withdrawal of $26,730 from water impact fees for engineering services related to the replacement of the water line at North Main Street.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion. And, before we do discussion, can we have Sean maybe just give us a quick overview?
Yeah.
Sean, do you want to just give us a real quick overview on what the work is, just so the public's knowledge? And
well, basically, this was passed a few months ago. It's basically to replace the water main from Bay Road to Simon's Lane. The problem is that in the previous resolution, it didn't identify where the money was coming to pay for the engineering. So we're looking to upgrade the line from a 6-inch line to a 8-inch line to meet current needs and future needs.
okay, good. Any questions for Sean?
Yeah.
Councilor Bentley?
To meet, what was the first sentence? To meet
Current
And future needs.
And is it not, Sean, something with fire? We don't have the capacity to fight it. We don't have enough water if there were a large fire.
We don't have enough fire flow on that side, and
This will help.
it'll help. It'll also be able to, for business to come in.
Good, thank you.
Any other questions? Your button, just so you know, isn't working, so you're going to have to give me a second. Councilor Carmichael?
How long, Sean, is it going to take the project? I mean,
We've done quite a bit of it. I've actually received the first set of plans, and I've reviewed them and sent them back because there was some stuff that needed to be changed. I think in another month or two, we should have completion of the design.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Councilor Pickering?
It's really not related to this, but it kind of ties into the needs for firefighting in that area. Do we have a dry hydrant there at the Lamprey River Bridge?
No.
No. I wonder why. would be a pretty good source right there.
Yeah, that would be the fire department.
Yeah.
Because that's, I mean, I deal with the water system.
Thank you.
So, yeah.
Any other questions? Do you want to call the roll, please?
Counselor Wright?
Aye.
Counselor Pickering?
Aye.
Counselor Carmichael?
Aye.
Counselor Bentley?
Aye.
Counselor Levy?
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. Next on the agenda is Resolution 2012-13-52, updating the building permit fee schedule. This has been read, but it might be good to just go over the numbers so everybody hears it another time. Counselor Bentley?
Just to make the motion.
Yeah, to make a motion, please.
Okay, make a motion to adopt Resolution 2012-2013-52, resolution to update the town of Newmarket building permit fee schedule.
Do I have a second?
Second.
We have the code enforcement officer in the audience tonight. His name is Mike Hoffman. Would you like to come up and just give us a brief...
If you would like me to, sir.
Yeah, I think it would be good for the public,
Absolutely.
since we haven't had a code enforcement officer come before us in a while.
Sure.
It's nice to know we have one.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here. I do enjoy this town. One of my first measures was to evaluate a number of policies and procedures in place. I found some discrepancies in the fee schedule, which I thought weren't appropriate, and we could do a little bit better. The most blatant issue was probably some of the permits, which were a standalone $90 permit for an electrical permit. If you put in one receptacle, it was $90. If you wired an entire commercial occupancy, it was $90. So there was no scaling of the permit fee with the scope of the work. That's somewhat inappropriate, and what that led to was a number of electricians and others only becoming available on Saturdays when and to do small jobs, and so small jobs and sometimes otherwise were being done without a permit, and people were trying to skirt the permit requirements. That creates a very unlevel playing field for those who are going to do work by the books versus those who are not. So it wasn't a good situation. We ended up doing a little bit of a survey of other areas, and I think you've got that in your package, perhaps, of what other communities have. And this is coming more into line with what they're doing. We found that our permits had essentially doubled twice in the last 10 years, which is tough in business if you decided you're going to double the price of cars or double the price of anything else. People would be a little bit upset, and that we found that certainly in the code office. Sue has heard, she said if she had a dime for every time somebody screamed about the price of an electrical permit or a plumbing permit. So that's what this is really about, is becoming more consistent with the area norms.
I think that's why people were skirting the...
Maybe one reason. There might have been other reasons too.
Yeah, I'm sure. Okay. Any questions for Mike? Seeing none, would you like to, thank you very much, Mike.
Thank
And
you.
by the way, I've heard very nice things so far, so, it's nice to have someone and getting good feedback from the community.
Thank
So,
you.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
Would you call the roll, please?
Counselor Wright?
Aye.
Counselor Pickering?
Aye.
Counselor Carmichael?
Aye.
Counselor Bentley?
Aye.
Counselor Levy?
Aye. Next is Resolution 2012-13-55. The town administrator is going to enter into an agreement to have audit services for fiscal year 2013 through 2015. And this has been read, and the company, just for the record, is Plodzik and Sanderson. Counselor Bentley.
Make a motion to adopt Resolution 2012-2013/55, authorizing the town administrator to enter into an agreement for audit services for fiscal years 2013 through 2015 with 3 one-year options.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any questions? I just have one quick question. When it says 3 options, so if for any reason we don't want to use them next year or the year after, we're not obligated to, or how does that work?
No, the three one-year options is at the end of the 3
Yeah.
years.
So
So
we-
in 2016, that would be option 1. which
Oh,
is-
so we could have them another...
Correct.
So we are obligated for the next 3 years,
Right.
that's the bottom line?
Right.
Okay, I just want to make that clear.
Let me rephrase that. If we find something gross misconduct or an issue there, I would recommend to the council that we break the agreement. We'll make sure any contract that we have with them states that, so.
Okay. Very good. Will you call the roll, please?
Counselor Wright?
Aye.
Counselor Pickering?
Aye.
Counselor Carmichael?
Aye.
Counselor Bentley?
Aye.
Counselor Levy?
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. Next is the review of the town council goals, and we have a copy of the goals given to us in our packet, and we also have another smaller document
The table? Yeah.
that might help put them into categories. So I thought it might make it easier to discuss it. So, would anyone like to comment on our goals? Any discussion?
If you want me to.
Yeah, you want to?
Yeah, I wrote the memo, I tried to condense and contract of the goals that the councilors brought up into really a few categories and steps to achieve those. And what the council's looking at, for example, the first one would be to establish a tax rate lower or level to fiscal year 14 tax rate for the next fiscal year. And underneath that, I sort of tried to get the information out from the goals that the council made that these are ways we would do this. And for example, it says review services the town provides, and if determines if there's other means to do so. And the second one would be begin and manage the Macintosh Well program. And the third large category was continue economic development efforts, and then there's the sub sort of milestones to try to achieve to do that. And then the fourth category was sort of, they were goals, but they didn't fit in the other one, so just, there's always create another category. So that's what the last one is.
Okay.
Mine's not working.
Counselor Bentley, and then I'll go to Carmichael.
So I misunderstood the meeting 2 weeks ago. I guess I thought we were supposed to bring our goals, and then I got the whole airport hang-up thing and missed the meeting. And so I sent them to Chairman Levy, and I think there was some confusion. I thought I was going to send them to you, and then I thought he was, but I think he ended up sending them to you.
Yep.
Obviously, mine are gone, and they're gone. They're not on this, and they're not on this because they came,
Yeah,
very late to you, just by Delta Airlines and my own miscommunication. But I don't know if we want me to talk about mine tonight, because I watched the film that I missed a couple times.
You know what I might suggest is, you have the goals here and you've seen them.
Yep.
Maybe you can go over some of the goals that, because I did email your goals immediately when I got them.
Okay.
Why don't you touch on some of the goals that you think either weren't included here
Okay.
or how they might integrate?
Is that fine with them?
Yeah. Yeah, you got
So,
got the floor.
the first one I had was the employee handbook that, again, before your time, Mr. Administrator, but we didn't ask, we pretty much directed and said we need to get this updated and good. We had a couple issues that really could have stung us, and probably still, some that out there that could if we didn't, and there was a lot of delays, and I know Ms. Glover was in the middle of it, and then she left, and it kind of got dropped. And anyway, that's one of my main things, is that we get that finished, have it come before us, and put it to rest, because I've seen things happen business-wise, and the same thing could happen here if we don't have a good policy that everyone signed off and read, all the employees have signed off and read and signed off on. Anyway, so I would like to see that as one of my number one. Number two, for my third year in a row, which would be tied for number one, is the properties. The Wilson property, I don't even know all of them. And we asked for a list at one point. We might have gotten it last year before you again, I'm sorry. But, I know there's one, the little burnt-down house that's gone over after the railroad track that's too small to put a house on now, even though there was a house on it. And the Wilson property, and there's a couple others. And I want to see whatever we can do to sell, lease, do something with, whether it's tying in with the EOC for the Wilson property, because you got the bridge issue, or get creative, and instead of us paying our people to go up and mow it now and then, maybe there's a farmer who will at least mow it for free and save a little bit of gas and labor, or maybe there's someone who will, lease it to put their horses on, or anyway, several of us have said over the years, we don't want to be in the real estate business, but we're still in it. We have properties, we're not gaining anything. Whether that little thing beyond the tracks could become a parking lot that we put spots in and rent for some of the houses on, lease out for some of the houses across 108. I think there's a lot of things if we get creative, we could do with these, so that's number 2. Water and sewer, a lot of people have that. I won't talk about that. I saw a charter on there, and I'm assuming, Mr. Fournier, that even though we can't recommend to the Charter Commission as a council, we certainly could, as residents, go up and speak our piece anytime, correct?
Yeah.
Because there's a couple things for 2 years in a row that were my goals on that I think are maybe not out of compliance with things, just outright wrong on the charter, and one is, the Dan Dickens law that, unfortunately, because he received a little bit of money, I think we're going to lose good people in our town, and that needs to change. If you counted votes once and got $15 for being a vote counter, you can't run for council that year. And it's hard, as we saw this year, there were 2 spots and 2 people ran. It's hard to get people to fill these boards and things, and anyway, that's just one example of something on the charter I think we need to take a good look at. And then last one's business in the town that I think anyone has, so that's it. Thank you.
You did bring up a couple things on number 4. Did you want to touch on any of that or not?
On 4, well, I mean, the one was the pay, the salary, and there was another, which comes back to the handbook, I guess. There was a clause, no, thank you, that was an important one last year, and that if a position was eliminated, or a person was demoted, or the position was eliminated and not demoted, the position didn't exist, that the salary couldn't be touched, and that's not how the real world works at all. So
yeah, I've heard that one. I've tried to find exactly the wording of that, but I've never heard it in the municipal side either.
Yeah, we read it.
Yeah.
It was handed to us, and we read it, and it was.
I agree.
It was one that I think needs to change real quick. You change and you downsize, unfortunately, as you need to. That's what companies and businesses do, and there's no sense in doing it if you have, the vice president, and now you make him a janitor, and he still gets his vice president's salary is ludicrous. So anyway, it's just 2 examples of things I think need to change. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair, for bringing that up.
Councilor Carmichael?
I was looking under here, Town Administrator, on the fiscal year 15, establish a tax rate lower or level to fiscal year 14. And under there, you got examine contracting out, snow removal, and other services. Are we going to get a timeline on something like this?
Well, I think that's what we need from the council, is if this is a high priority, then I will put that on the front burner and have it done sooner than if it's not a high priority. I need to know the council's, basically your priority list.
Yeah.
Because if not, I'll be working with them all, trying to get them all done
we
tomorrow.
We will get there tonight,
Thank you.
I promise you. Or we'll try.
Yeah.
Anything else?
No, I just think that's very important that we go
Basically put a date to or some kind of a timeline to what we're going to be prioritizing, hopefully. That's
so
what we're going to
before the budget time comes up, we know,
what the deal is.
Yeah, what the deal is.
Councilor Bentley.
Just that, and I said, I watched the meeting that I missed, and I agree with prioritizing. I don't know that we'll get there tonight. I was thinking maybe if we took them and looked in the next meeting and said, these are mine, and but whatever. I agree with dates being put on them, because some, like, it'll be here before we know it, but plowing is probably not the number one right now, because it's still a bit of ways before we have to plow, but I agree. Again, that's what you do in the business world. You have dates, and Mr. Fournier, can you come back by May 20th and tell us this, and can you tell us June 20th on this? One thing I do want to bring up in the plowing, we did this, the first council I was on asked the Public Works Director to look into quotes, and he got them, so it's been done once. There was some discussion, we haven't done it, we have done it, and those are old, we should certainly do it again, they're old figures, but when I was speaking to some folks in Epping, we just needed, somehow Epping has been brought up a lot. A lot of their roads, Route 27, 101, and 125 are done by the state, so again, you can't compare apples and, it's not apples and apples when you say they have 52 miles of roads and we have, 60 and we do this, and because the state's plowing a lot of their roads, whether good, bad, or ugly, that just needs to be known. But we did ask and get, at one point, quotes on outside contractors, so I think it's certainly right to get newer ones. That's it.
Any other comments? I'll take a shot at it then, if it's okay. When I looked at this, and I think this is easier for me to work on, you know, even if the writing is a little bit small, I'd like to take a shot at putting some dates or just, you know, basic general timelines to things. So I think the handbook, and I'm just throwing this out, so let's just start somewhere if it's okay. Actually, before I do that, I want to clarify one thing. One of the goals that was written was, and it was under fiscal, for fiscal year 15, establish a lower tax rate, and then you had some bullet points. It said examine contracting and snow removal. Then under it, it said examine departmental operations, i.e. planning, finance, recreation, make sure they're still providing the service that the town needs. Just for clarification, because I don't really think that was, at least that wasn't my interpretation of it. I think what the issues were that we were asking, or that I thought we were asking, was, do we need a full-time planner? Do we need a full-time finance person? And can recreation be self-sustaining or get to that level of, you know, closer to self-sustaining? So, you know, I'm not really sure that making sure that they're providing the services that the town needs. I'm not trying to be nitpicky, but I don't think that's really.
I just was trying not to have a goal being to eliminate or reduce a position. I wanted to do the reviewing of it. I understand that's part of the process.
I just wanted to make it clear what we were asking.
And I'm very clear on that. I just wanted to make sure, as a goal, it.
Well, because what I just said did not say eliminate a position.
To reduce.
Well, hold on. Right now, just for sake of argument, we have a part-time finance director, so I mean, I think that was, in other words, in the recreation, I'm not looking to reduce. It was, are there going to be ideas, or, you know, who's going to come up with, you know, a timeline for what kind of ideas could possibly get recreation as close to self-sustaining, if not make it self-sustaining as possible. So I just wanted to, it's just my interpretation of the way it was written. Okay, go ahead, Larry.
I don't think any of the goals that, a lot of these came from me, and they've come from other people over the last 25 years, so no one person that you can say that person came up with it. I mean, I really could care less as to who initially suggested this when. However, I don't believe we were talking about this is something we wanted to do. It's something, is there a possibility on all of these? Not focusing on, let's go do this. Right. It's, let's look into it. Does it make financial sense? Can we, you know, live with part-time positions?
And that's why I would use the term examine more than anything, because that's what I would do, is try to review what we're doing. Is a position still full-time for the workload they have currently? Are there other duties at that position that somebody in town is currently not doing that we could pick up to move over? I just completely agree with what you're saying and understand.
Okay, can I go into, or I just want to finish my thought. So my first thought was examining the contracting out of snow removal and other services. I would like to have an answer to that, and I'm just throwing this out there, so let's just go start somewhere. I'd like to know that by August, because if we could find that out by August, we'll be able to, going into the budget season, have an understanding of what the pros and the cons are. With respect to recreation, obviously this fiscal year is done. So I'd like to know, and I'd use August as the same timeline, to know when the ideas, creating an enterprise fund or whatever we need to create to make that more clear as far as the way we budget it. Right now, I've already made my points on how I feel it's budgeted, and I think maybe just for our own knowledge, the enterprise fund, very specifically, how would that change the way we do the budget for recreation? Can you give us the Reader's
first,
Digest
it's a
version?
revolving fund.
Okay, revolving. So can you give us the?
Yeah, what you would do is you try to take the programs and have them operate that they're either making money or making excess money, and that excess money can make up the difference of programs that may not be making as much money. Usually and traditionally, the director's position as well as assistant staffs are not in the revolving fund because it's a lot of money to try to make up. However, the summer staff would be in the revolving fund, and any staff that may be needed on a part-time or temporary basis for certain programs that would be operating through the revolving fund, you would put that in the revolving fund. So you basically have only director and any full-time year-long salaries in the operating budget, and the remainder, again, this is a decision, ultimately policy decision of the council.
Okay, so we're going into the budget, right? Give us a tangible example of how that would work versus what we do now. What they do now, and correct me if I'm wrong, if I'm just, if I'm a little bit off, they have a plan for what they think they're going to do for summer camp and for the different programs they have, right? So they come and they predicate it on how many people they think they're going to need to hire, how many people they're going to have to oversee the kids, et cetera, et cetera. Then they give us a dollar amount. We debate it, whatever, we come up with a budgetary number. It has been my experience, at least since I've been on the council, that if they don't do the business, if they don't have as many campers as they would have otherwise thought, et cetera, then what we end up doing is they return the money to us at the end of the year, and it falls into the fund balance, and then we decide whether or not we're going to, use it to reduce the taxes, or we're going to make it part of our surplus. So now we're going into the budget, right? Meaning the budget process. How does the revolving fund change from what I just synopsized?
Because you would have this would be a separate item, you'd still get in the operating budget, but not in the general fund budget.
Okay.
It'd be booked as a revolving fund budget. You would have a recreation, same thing, summer camp, I'll use $100,000.
Okay.
However, on the flip side of it, on the other side of the ledger, you need to estimate your revenue. Summer camp, $100,000. If for some reason summer camp cost was $75,000, this is the big change. Summer camp cost is $75,000, but they brought in $125,000 in revenue. That additional $50,000 does not go back to the general fund. It cannot be used for fund balance. That stays in the revolving fund. So they can have a fund balance in the revolving fund to offset any losses for other programs if they are there. For example, say if you had, youth soccer program that only made, you estimated it was going to make $50,000, but it only made $40,000.
Okay.
You have it.
So play it the other way, Steve. They make a projection that they're going to bring in $100,000. They bring in $70,000. We've budgeted them $100,000. So obviously there's a $30,000 delta, right? That $30,000 now, if they didn't use it, meaning to staff, et cetera, it ends up coming back, generally, if they don't spend it, to the fund balance. At least that's what I've seen.
Well, and I guess there's another step there, because when you send money back to the fund balance, you have to take the money, you budget one thing with expenses, but also if they didn't make the money because of if they have budgeted $100,000, but they only made 70, that means there's actually a deficit there.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, so you can't expend it. What happens is you just don't have as much money to go back into fund balance because your revenue's not meeting it.
So how is that really materially different, other than them getting to keep the money that they?
Because what you say now is you can actually change. You have more flexibility in the operating budget because right now, say if you had the $100,000 and they spent the $100,000, but they only got $70,000 in revenue, the $30,000 has to be made up by tax dollars. Where now is, if they spend $100,000 but they only get $70,000, they need to either make that money in higher fees, or they have to make it through the fund balance of the recreation revolving fund. Or what normally happens is you cut the program. you reduce the size of the program because you don't have the money. Right now, they have the safety net that tax dollars will pay any
Yeah,
deficit.
right now, the way I see it, let's just use the $100,000 number. Right now, we're budgeting the 100.
Right.
And because I think of reasonably thoughtful spending, when they don't see the business coming in, they don't spend it.
Correct.
Okay. And so the town ends up getting that back at the end of the year, if it goes into the fund balance. I don't want to parse
But you're
words.
you're missing the step of the revenue. The revenue is the key here. Because if they're not getting the money so they don't spend the $100,000, they're also not getting the money because they're not getting the revenue to get to the $100,000.
And what I was trying to get to is is there a way to make them more self-sustaining by not, what I thought the revolving fund was going to try to accomplish was we wouldn't be budgeting excess money if they didn't make it happen. That's where
And they can do that.
That's where I'm
They're more flexible under the revolving to do that than they are under the general fund, because again, under general fund, if it says $100,000, you raise $100,000 through taxation.
Okay.
And you offset it with revenue. With the revolving fund, you raise the $100,000 through revenue only, not taxation.
Okay.
So if they don't make $100,000.
So we're not really budgeting them, they have to bring that money in.
They need to bring the money in. If they don't, they can't spend the $100,000.
Okay, that was the part that wasn't clear to me.
It's the revenue side.
Okay, Councilor Bentley.
There's towns in the area using revolving funds?
Most do.
And mostly for just rec, or what other departments?
You only can do it for recreation, cable television, and I can't remember the third off the top of my head. I believe it's an ambulance, but yeah.
Okay.
Thanks.
Just, and I don't want to belabor it anymore tonight, at least I don't. If other people want to ask, all the power to you. Can we get the pros and the cons of the revolving fund and a couple of examples of how it would work versus what we're doing now?
We will have a
As
presentation.
as a goal,
That's what
Okay.
the August presentation will be, and it will be complete.
So, so far, I brought up the plowing August, recreation August. I don't see any, I apologize, Councilor Bentley.
No, that's the other one.
The economic development consultant, I was hoping we could get that done this month at our next meeting. We're throwing it out there, so I'm going to throw it out there. We're going to get the attorney hopefully decided by June, so I'm putting that in there. The handbook, I'd like to see that done no later than July, if we could.
Since it's out there, I'll give everybody an update where we are with that. The finance director's gone through the current, and we call it personnel policy, that's municipal speak, because you'll adopt it as an ordinance when it gets adopted.
Good.
Finance director's gone through the first review. I'm going to send it to our property and liability insurance carrier who has attorneys to review it, and they'll make any recommendations procedurally what needs to be there, because they don't, for exactly what you said, they're the ones who will have to cover us if we get sued over anything that's wrong with it, so they'll provide advice. Then as soon as we have the when town attorney will then review it and make recommendations, and then the council will have the final say on it. And it's a lengthy document, so just to get ready, it is in the hopper and it is being worked on.
Okay. Councilor Wright.
Yeah, this is just on regards to the town handbook or employees handbook. Now, one time that was being, maybe Councilor Bentley could help me on this, he's been here longer than I have. At one time, that was being looked over in-house, correct? Like someone on staff?
We had an HR person at the time was looking at it, and
then, this is why, now, how much did she accomplish, or this person accomplish, and?
A lot of it was already,
Okay, yeah,
done.
yeah.
And it was, that we, but you still, it's not your product, so you want to double check.
Well, I'm just saying, I hate to have,
Yeah.
be it done in-house and then not ever getting completed, but you're saying you're using.
Yeah, I would highly recommend using an attorney.
Absolutely.
Because this is one of those ones that will come back to get you if you don't.
and that's what we had recommended.
Yeah.
All right.
Anything else?
No, thank you.
Can I keep going? I'm just trying to bang them all out, if that's okay. RFP for wastewater and well, I'd like to see that, the committee set up by one of our meetings in June. And if we could get the RFPs out by June, July, I would be, July, I think is, you need to give me.
Yeah, that's.
After we do this, give us some feedback,
It'll easily
would
be before that.
Okay.
That's what, you're gonna have Sean coming in at the workshop in May to get you ready to send out the RFPs.
Good.
So that's.
Good. I was hoping we could have a couple of counselors maybe on that ultimate committee, but we can talk.
Yeah, and I'll give it a little bit.
Yeah.
Couple counselors, myself, Sean. Sean's gonna recommend some wastewater plant operators who have gone through the process, who are willing to volunteer to see what we need to look at, so.
And other than that, with respect, with the, and I'd like to thank so many councilors for coming to the Economic Development Committee meeting tonight. It was almost like having a council meeting in the audience, which was very much appreciated, by the way. And for the public's knowledge, we're going to be hopefully hiring a consultant, which came in at around $9,500, which was an extremely competitive price. And hopefully he'll be starting his work. He said he could complete it within 60 days, so even if we, on the outside of it, we should be done with that by, I would say, middle of August, hopefully, maybe earlier if we can really, get it going. So that kind of covers a lot of the economic development. If you look at the third column on that sheet, a lot of that stuff will come off, I would think, other than what Mayberry's working on now regarding the M2 zone. But a lot of the things that we've been discussing regarding business for the town and what makes sense and what doesn't, hopefully will start to flow from that document.
Did I have a question?
Sure.
On the economic development, the person you're going to hire as a consultant, there was money in economic development, that budget cycle, which was coming up in July was there money in there?
No, just to if correct me if I'm wrong, Steve said that it looks like he's going to have somewhere about $180,000 surplus, and I think there's some wood here somewhere to knock on. This is, even if he's off a little bit, there's plenty of money, I think, from his standpoint, so why don't you...
We can encumber $2,000 from this year's operating budget that hasn't been used yet. And then there's $2,000 in the next year's for economic development. We didn't increase it, there was a motion at one point to go pretty high. So we got 4 there, and we can find the rest in other areas from consulting and...
I mean, my general gut feeling is, and it always has been, and it probably always will be, with exceptions, of course, and if it doesn't go through the budget cycle, it's kind of unfair to be borrowing from someone else's department's money, which it's surplus money, apparently, that you're taking from. So I guess as a rule of thumb, I would prefer to have it go through a budget cycle, but this seems like it makes enough sense to do it.
Well, you know why? Unfortunately, I had a personal tragedy the day that, the budget was discussed on that Saturday. I think they tried I think Councilor Zink at the time tried to get, I don't know, $25,000 or $30,000 for that. And, Steve was under the gun to come in at a flat budget, basically. And I think we didn't really have an idea where the ultimate town was going to be coming, into June. At the time, we were doing this back in a November timeline, something like that. So anyway, they didn't have the money. They didn't want anyone to take a chance without having it. Now we have a much better picture of where we're going to end up. So I mean, the money is definitely available. I mean, it's up to the council if they want to spend it or not. But I think it would be money well spent. And we do have it available, I think. Anyway, that's pretty much, if I go through this list, personnel, July, attorney, just real recap, attorney next month or very shortly, economic development consultant, make a decision this month and get him going, recreation and the plowing analysis, and in August, at least these are my thoughts, but I'd like other people to weigh in. and the wastewater and the well and all that, June, July, and get the committee going, and, meaning, that's going to do that analysis. So those are my thoughts.
Can I add one date?
Sure. You can add 2 days.
Solicit bids for proposals for insurance products, October.
Now, weren't you working with the school with that?
No, this one's separate. This
Okay, I
is
thought at the last meeting you said you were doing something.
Not for
Maybe I
insurance.
misunderstood. I
No, this is the one where I want to do, what I'm trying to do is compile.
So this is insurance for the town?
All, no, when I'm saying
All of it?
insurance too, I don't mean
Yeah, what
just
do you
health.
mean?
I mean property and liability.
Okay.
I mean workers' comp,
And when-
everything.
And when is that up? When is the date up on that?
Some of them are up next June. One is up in December.
When you say next June, you talking a month?
14.
A month from now?
14, no, 2014.
Oh, okay.
So it would make sense to do it for this coming budget. One of the things when I got here, just for the council's knowledge, is traditionally, the manager and administrator goes out annually and says to the big companies and say, can you give us a proposal? So I did that when I got here. One was a multi-year agreement that was signed. So when company couldn't, we couldn't get out of it. And so I asked the company, one of the competitors, when was the last time they were our insurance company, and they said it was in the 90s. So that, I just want to make sure that we do it at least every budget cycle, but when the contracts are up, to make sure that we are getting the best price for insurance for this.
So when do you want to have that?
I'd have it in October.
Of this year?
Yep, so I can propose it in next year's operating budget.
Okay, and that would be property liability, and would that also?
Workers' comp,
Yeah, so that would be the towns. What about health insurance?
health insurance would be as well.
Oh, I apologize. Yeah, go ahead, Larry.
Can you back out of an insurance contract or whatever you call it? In other words, the ones that are coming due in June for the new year.
Yeah.
Can we break that commitment?
Well,
If we can find something, and what I'm thinking is, why wait 6 months to a year if we can break a lease or whatever you call it, and
the quick
get a
answer
better
is
deal?
no.
No.
But we want to get them all on the June timeframe. We don't want to go to the December. We want to have everything up every time the new budget comes into play. So I'm trying to actually, there's one product that we have up in December. For some reason, they never switched it from the calendar year when we switched to a fiscal year. So I'm trying to actually figure out how can we get either a 6-month extension, or, which I doubt will happen, a reduction by 6 months to this June. So we should have everything on the same schedule. So, because the other thing is, when you pull them together, insurance companies tend to give bigger discounts when you buy everything from them. So.
Can I do a follow-up?
Yeah.
Can we pool ourselves with others, other communities, to get a larger pool?
Well, we do for our liability. That's typically, that is what we do, because we're in the trusts right now. Municipalities, it's very difficult to get liability insurance on the open market because we get sued a lot. So back in the mid-'80s, insurance companies pulled insurance coverage for municipalities, so they started what they call the PLT, the Property Liability Trust. That's all the municipalities in the state put money into this pool, and then we pull it back out if there's a claim. So we're in a pool with everybody there. So, and health insurance is the same way. You can get better rates if you're over 100. Yes, we can try to group in with others.
Yeah,
but the problem you run into there is, if our plans isn't the same as plan town Y or district X, then you gotta get them somewhat on board. But I'll always look at it, and I'll talk to other communities as well.
That's another point of perhaps regionalization talks with other communities.
Absolutely.
How we can all do better.
Yep.
Thank you.
Councilor Carmichael.
Yes, town administrator. Police, they're under the same insurance policy?
Yes.
Okay, so all town employees?
Yes.
Under the same?
Yes. What do you mean by policy?
In the insurance, I mean the health.
We're all
benefits.
under the same, right, we don't have the same contributions, but we have the same policy. So, it's
And how many employees?
52.
52. And what's that law with 50 under or 50 over, isn't it?
It's 100.
What's 100?
It's on. Oh, which which law?
The new health plan, that,
Yes, that's the 50. That will be coming into effect shortly, and we're doing the research on that now. So, because that will be an impact as well.
Thanks.
So.
okay.
Yeah, just for clarification, I thought you meant the 100. The way you can do, since right now we're under 100 employees, we're actually pulled in together with our rates because they can't get a census of like claims for under 100 for a community our size, a workforce our size.
Yeah.
So what they do is they pull us all together with all the communities that are under 100, and that's how they figure out what our rates will be. Versus if we're over 100, they can do our own. So we're not at that level.
Yeah.
That's why if we combined it maybe with other groups, you can get over the 100. So it's more specialized.
Couple more quick things. Land sales. Could we please have a list of all, and I know that there was this big announcement on what the town could or couldn't sell, so you can explain that later if you want. But my understanding is that property that the town owns outright, for example, the Wilson, just to use one that I know that we own outright, could we get a list, since this has been brought up since I've been started on the council?
Yep.
Could we get a list by the second meeting in June, possibly, of what the land is? Not that we're going to do anything.
You got a list 2 weeks ago.
Oh, I didn't.
Yeah,
I didn't see
yeah.
it.
Yeah.
You all received the list of all the town property.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't.
So-
I didn't catch it.
That's why I just want to make sure everybody knew that. Yeah, you did
So,
receive it.
What does that add up? Just ballpark. What are we talking about? Value? Do you have any idea, Steve?
I don't have the value.
I mean, for everybody out there, that's
It's
two-
about- it's
that's
three
two
pages. 3 pages.
of. I mean,
But some of it's land that's something's
Right,
on.
like
Right.
town hall.
Right.
This town hall,
Yeah.
the Department of Public Works.
no, stop.
But that's
I mean parcels that nothing is, like, for example, there's, people have brought up the Wilson property. Could you make a list? Well, I know it's there.
Yeah.
I'm not, that nothing is really on. I'm not saying we want to do anything with it, but maybe we can at least have a discussion about those large tracts that the town, for example, I think we paid $630,000 or something like that for the Wilson. And, right now it may be appraised at like 2-something or whatever it is. But could we get an idea of those pieces? That doesn't really.
Yeah, I can get you, yeah.
If the town, we're not going to sell town hall or even consider it, but I mean, I think we should, unless the Charter Commission decides to get rid of all of us. But while we're still here, it might be nice to know what those, I think the spirit of my question was, and the spirit of what Councilor Bentley had brought up last year, was those pieces that seem to just be, nothing is happening with them, and I'm not suggesting that we want to go and sell the Wilson property. All I'm saying is, can we get what you consider to be that list of those big or larger tracts that are laying sort of dormant?
Absolutely.
Is that?
Yep, no, I will come up with a proposal to sell surplus property.
Or even just, not necessarily sell, so we can really identify it and what's happened when we, the history, a little bit of history behind it. I mean, we burned down the building out there and nothing's really happened. And maybe we can have that by June,
Sure.
I'm thinking second meeting, and that gives you plenty of time. And then those two issues that Councilor Bentley brought up regarding the personnel stuff. And I don't want to get into the whole thing, but it's basically if a person is demoted or eliminated, their pay stays the same. And if there's a demotion made, apparently the way it is now, that salary stays the same. Are we going to, when we look at that personnel, are there things that the council can change as far as policies?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Is that something that we can do? When is it comfortable for you to address the personnel with us, so we can maybe weigh in on some of these decisions?
I would hope to have a proposed personnel policy through the attorneys by July, depending on when with town attorneys, if we switch or we continue. with
Okay,
the
so
same
that would
firm.
be July, meaning they would make their recommendations.
You would begin review.
Yeah.
So after the council reviews,
Okay.
I'd hope adoption in August or September, I would say September to give you an extra month.
Okay, so by July, we'll have, and then can we request for July? Because I think that's when we have the second and fourth week or something like that. Could we have the areas of the handbook that are out of compliance with state law, that aren't up to code? And then also have recommendations by the attorney as to things like this. Some of the flexibility that we have as a town to change. Because when I have my handbook done at the store, they say, Gary, you have to change this, you have to change that, no longer is this law applicable. And then they say, I might suggest doing X, Y, and Z. So when we get that, when we have that meeting, or you give us whatever you get from the attorneys, can they give us suggestions as to things that we might want to implement, and then we can throw it around the
It would
council?
be, it would be from myself and from the attorneys to make sure they're legal.
Yeah.
But yeah, absolutely. We're gonna go through the personnel policy. If there's changes that are not
Okay.
consistent with current operations or.
And then things that we have
Yep.
some flexibility on?
Yep.
Okay, and that's July. And I'm just going through here. Is there anything else that you want to take a look at? Are there any, do any of the other counselors want to look at, since we're doing, I'm sure if Counselor Pike or Nazaro want to, bring up a couple of other things, because what I'm hoping happens, Steve, after this meeting is, now that we've basically gone through all of these with the incredible minutes that Ellen takes, you'll be able to
Second.
aggregate all these in a form sort of like, this look.
Yep.
And with dates associated with them. And other than that, speak now or forever, guys, because, these are, there's plenty here, but.
I think some of them I'll put in there as ongoing, because it's not really an end date. There's things that we should just keep as goals in general. But I'll just put that down there, it's ongoing.
Yeah, for example, like with economic development, just as an example of that,
Yeah.
people wanted us to do an analysis of the properties in town. Well, we wanted to figure out the kinds of businesses we were looking to attract and where we fit in before we started looking at land, because you kind of jumping the gun to do the land. So that would be in that
Yep.
category theoretically. So, is everybody, I'm sorry, Counselor Carmichael.
Maybe we can throw one other thing in there. I had some notes. Evaluations, department heads.
That will be done by June 30th, so July 1.
Say that one more time, I apologize.
Evaluations of department heads. and
Will be done
employees.
by,
July 1.
and will we see those?
I will, yes, for department head. I gotta look at the charter and which department heads you do and which ones you don't.
Okay,
Other
but
than
the ones that we do, we
yeah,
can-
any recommendations that I would have for pay increases or not, that would also come to the council.
Okay, so for July, we'll have the evaluations of the people we
Yep.
sort of oversee.
And that is non-public for the
Yep.
edification of the press shaking his head.
Well, that was good, because I think
Yeah.
that would be good to do.
That's all I've got.
Any others? Well, I think that's a fair amount of stuff on the table.
Yep, gives me a good guidance too.
And then what we can do is, once we get, obviously, a lot of this is going to come up really fast, so we're going to be having these on the agenda, as Councilor Nazaro said at the last meeting. He was hoping that the agendas could sort of be guided by the goals, so maybe hopefully each month at these, these, and then if you're not going to be able to get the information in a timely, let us know, and we'll. The only thing I wanted to ask about is when you're doing the analysis on whether it's recreation or plowing or any of that stuff, how do you envision running those numbers, doing the cost benefit, if you don't mind me asking?
Well, when I'd have to, it depends on which one I'm looking at.
Well, let's talk recreation, or it doesn't matter.
Recreation, that's cost benefit is, really, if we go to revolving fund, if they're making, profit, or if they're making money from the system, the programs that they're running, is there a different way to run the program? Are there other places they could get the program from other than the town?
Mhm.
For example, we don't need to run a softball program if the school runs a softball program at the same exact level and the same exact program. We shouldn't be doubling up. So I think those are the kind of things I'll be looking at there. For snow removal, I've already begun some of the research. I'm asking other communities what their current experiences are,
Mhm.
because it's not right now the cost. It's, from my understanding, it's trying to get the contracts and trying to get contractors on board. You're seeing a lot more contractors not put their trucks up in the winter to fix them, so they can get a bit longer seasons during the rest of the year, so they're not plowing as much. But that's the kind of experience I'm looking at, the discussion whether or not you have a combined contracted and town crew, that's being looked at. I'm asking for experiences right now. Then I'll look at the cost, what are the averages right now the communities are paying for everywhere around here, for not only around here, but other places, and what works best for them. Is it working for them? And then look at what our current costs are. So, and again, it's not 1 year either. You can't look just last year when we had blizzards. You got to look for the other years, the year before when we had no snow.
No, and that's why,
Yeah.
because, if you contracted everything out, and there's no snow, obviously, you saved a hell of a lot of money.
Yeah, but what you find out is the contractors don't come back the next year because they didn't make money.
Yeah.
That's what everyone's finding. Just to give a little sneak peek, they're finding that you have to give them a minimum every year to hold them.
Which is what landscapers do.
Yeah.
That's the same thing.
Just to.
I have no problem with
There's
that.
pluses and minuses,
Yep.
but, all right, so that's how you're planning.
Yep, absolutely.
And I'm assuming you're going to use your department heads on some level with
Absolutely.
that, too? Okay.
Yep.
Great.
7C.
Is that pretty much cover the goals, guys?
Mhm.
Good. I think that was good. I think we've made some nice strides. Hopefully, if we get all this accomplished this year, it'll be a nice move in the right direction from what we did last year, too, Okay, so next on the agenda, we have new business.
No, so
And, pardon me?
7C, table ordinance zoning changes.
Stays
Well,
on the
it's just
table
on the
until
table.
active.
That's just,
there's
we're waiting
no-
for Matt
No
Mayberry.
action.
We're waiting for
Right.
Matt Mayberry, so I just cross it out because we're waiting.
Oh, well,
That's-
I'll bring it up under something else then.
Okay. Well, do you want to?
No, I know where I bring it up. It's more
Under new business, A, town council to consider nominations, appointments, and elections. We have a candidate, Fred Pearson, for the Conservation Commission. Do I have a motion to accept Fred Pearson? Counselor Bentley? Or are you pushing your button?
Well, I'm trying to
You're
see what
close.
page it's on. Yeah, yes, I.
It's on page
Yeah.
3940.
I got it. Motion to accept Fred Pearson for the Conservation Commission term to expire, 3-year term to expire 2016.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Which one was that? That was a tie.
Take him.
You take it. That's fine.
Go with Larry.
Give it to the old
I
guy.
gave it to
The old guy.
Council Carmichael gave it. I gave Council Pickering the last one.
Discrimination.
Any discussion?
Any discussion on Fred?
Just, I want to thank him. He's been on this before. Thank him like we thank all our people that give their time on any of the commission, so I appreciate him reapplying.
Fred's got very good credentials for this, for whatever, he has a very extensive resume, so. Would you please call the roll?
Council Wright?
Aye.
Council Pickering?
Aye.
Council Carmichael?
Aye.
Council Bentley?
Aye.
Council Levy?
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. B, under new business. Resolution 2012-13-56, Town Administrator to enter into an amendment with State of New Hampshire exempting Social Security and Medicare coverage from election workers. This is not going to be read, it's a first
You have to
read.
read the full thing
Oh.
today.
Okay. Because
I have it in front of me. Would you like me to read it? I can do
yeah,
it.
what page is it on?
40.
40.
Sure, if you want to read it.
Authorizing town administrator enter into an amendment to the agreement with the state of New Hampshire regarding the exempting Social Security and Medicare coverage from election workers. Whereas pursuant to a 1955 agreement exempted certain covered employment groups from Social Security and Medicare coverage such as police and fire, and whereas the 1970 modification to the agreement excluded election workers who earn less than $50 per quarter is still in effect despite the IRS's increase in the exclusion, which is $1,600 per calendar year, and whereas pursuant to Section 3.13 of the Town of Newmarket's Charter, the Town Council has authority to sign an amendment to increase the exclusion for election workers from $50 per quarter to $1,600 per calendar year. Now therefore it be resolved that the Newmarket Town Council does hereby authorizes the Town Administrator, excuse me, hit the wrong button. Where's my spot?
To enter into...
To sign the agreement.
Thank you.
Which increases the exclusion for election workers.
For $50 per quarter to $1,600 per calendar year. First reading, May 1st, 2013.
And we'll discuss it then, because this was very, lengthy and...
Yeah, it's for the next...
Okay, so we'll discuss it then. And then next on the agenda under new business, we have a vendor who wants to, Patsy's, I believe, is here. And they're going to come up and they're a hot dog vendor that's been in Newmarket, and they want to apply for their hot dog stand. Would you like to come up, please? And
Hi.
you might want to give you your name and...
Patricia O'Hara Daddario, 38 Spring Street.
Thank you. Do you want to sort of give us an overview of what...
I'm just applying to do what I've done the past year or two, have my hot dog cart out on Main Street.
Okay.
Nothing has changed, everything remains the same. I'm just reapplying.
Okay. Counselor Bentley.
Is just going into your third year now? Because you kind of came in the fall, right?
I did come in kind of like in the middle of the summer for the first year. Last year I did all year, and so this will be actually, it'll be 2.5 years at the completion.
She certainly, did everything we asked of her, and I've seen it and been to it, so I would certainly support going forward and welcome any business, large and small here. So I would support allowing the permit again.
There were a few issues, so I'm going to let the administrator discuss those.
I discussed, the building official, part of the application process has to review the permit, and there were some issues that he found, but has been in contact with the applicant, and she indicated she will address those, and he will be inspecting those throughout the summer to make sure they're in compliance. So just that everything is okay there.
Yeah, I was caught a little bit off because I thought you were going to address some of those, so I just want to make sure the insurance one was the one that kind of caught my eye. So the town will be indemnified, that was one of the issues, correct?
That's absolutely required, and she's aware she has to provide an actual binder.
I did speak with the insurance company. They said they were going to fax over a copy. I do have a copy of the binder. She said from the first year it carries over, and then as I renew each year, it's the same one. It does say that it did expire in August 2012, but that in renewing my policy, this is the same binder. So I do have a copy of it if you'd like me to give it to you. She did say she was going to fax it over.
Yeah, you know what I would do? I would just handle that with a code enforcement officer. I just wanted, my only reason for bringing this up is I just want to make sure there were 4 or 5 annotated, questions that I'm sure you've seen, right? So as long as those are handled, that goes through the town hall, so we need to vote on it, I guess.
Right, you need to approve if you agree with it, you need to approve the application for a permit.
And then as long as she's in compliance, because we're gonna go with it, and then she's gonna be in compliance with all
He has the
these.
right to pull, the building official has the right to pull the permit if something's not in compliance during the process.
Okay.
So,
I would also like to say that I did go to the fire station, and they don't approve or disapprove of a fire extinguisher. I'm not sure if you're looking for a certification, but I do just have a small fire extinguisher that they said should be fine, as
Then
opposed to one of those
that
great
should be
big
fine.
restaurant things.
Yeah, the
All
building
right.
officer will look at it. Yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure
Yep.
that was addressed, and as long as it's addressed, I'm fine with it. Do we have a second? Counselor Bentley made a motion to accept.
Second.
Counselor Pickering seconded. Discussion? All those in favor? Or do you want to call the roll?
Counselor Wright?
Aye.
Counselor Pickering?
Aye.
Counselor Carmichael?
Probably not a hot dog haven't liked, so, yeah, I'll go for it.
I didn't know where you were going there.
Don't mess me up, I'm going through the list. Counselor
I was
Bentley?
gonna say, I know I've seen you there.
Counselor Levy?
I think you know where to get his vote. Aye. Motion passes 5-0, and then we wish you luck. We hope you have a good season.
Thank you, gentlemen, I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
I just wanted to make a comment. I hope my cardiologist isn't listening, but they're great hot dogs.
My cardiologist, jeez. And other than that, we're down to closing comments by counselors. So does anybody, I think Counselor Bentley had something he wanted to bring up about. Well, why don't we start with Counselor Carmichael?
Okay, I'd just like to bring up that the Heritage Committee, we had our first meeting last week in election of officers. John Brackett is the chairman. Robert Bedez is the vice chairman. Janice Roser and Ed Carmichael are co-secretaries. And we all got elected to an office because there's only 4 of us. So we do need the public's help. We only meet usually once a quarter, so 4 times a year unless there's some special occasions. And they're only for an hour, hour and a half at a time. So if anybody out there can please help us out, we'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Any specific discussion that took place?
Just the election of officers and
Counselor Bentley.
I know I spoke of it, just, did you address the gentleman so he knows where someone's gonna at least address him?
Oh, yeah, the council received a letter from an individual, Mr. Clark, and I've already talked to him.
You have, okay, I misunderstood this earlier, okay, just wanna make sure we weren't just all thinking someone else was gonna do
Nope.
something. Next meeting is when we interview the lawyers, correct? Potential.
Next week.
You were having a non-public session on Wednesday to interview individuals.
It's a pretty aggressive, knowing what we went through interviewing you. It's an aggressive schedule to get 3 different firms in here, and I would hope we would, I don't know whether we all come up with a couple questions and send them to the chair, but it would just be good if we have some order so those meetings interviews go fairly smoothly and quickly, and certainly a very important thing for our town. And I'm not saying I want to rush through the meeting, but if we have some semblance of how's it going to go, do we each ask 3 questions, do we go around the table, because we had the same talk when we interviewed the town administrator position. But so I don't know what you guys want to do, but I was thinking that if we got some questions to the chair and said, and it's printed and everyone else knows, so they're not asking the same ones, or I bring 2 and the only 2 I wrote down, Council Carmichael already asks, or it's a tight schedule to talk to 3 people in that time.
If you have specific questions, I would suggest you forward them to me, not the chair, because you need to forward them to the town administrator to have the official record.
Okay.
And then we can give sample questions for you to have during that time. But again, this is an interview of hiring somebody, so this is a non-public. So I'm asking you to be careful tonight in what you're saying. So that's what I think would be the best bet.
I think what what Counselor Bentley or Vice Chair Bentley was getting at is when we did the right, wrong, or indifferent. I wasn't the chair then, so I didn't really get involved in it. But I think there were questions that we had, and so I think what he's suggesting is we get the questions to you, so people are focused on what's going to be asked, so we don't ask a bunch of redundant questions and it doesn't go on. I already pretty much know what I'm going to ask, but I was in the interview process, so.
Yeah.
So why don't we do that, and why don't you send out an email to everybody?
Yep.
Asking them for any questions that they may want to ask, and then you can get the feedback, and then everybody can send it to Counselor, Town Administrator. How's that?
Yep.
And,
On that, Chairman Levy and myself called references, and lastly on the parking, and we weren't going to bring it up under, I guess, I've had a couple questions about and I know you left in our packets, the parking agreement.
Yep.
So I think there's a lot of confusion. I read it, and I read specifically number 6, and was more confused after I read it.
For the public's knowledge,
Yeah,
this
maybe
is
you could
this is the parking, the 20 parking spaces that are given to us at the Newmarket Mills LLC parking space that's near the library.
So specifically, I haven't been able to watch a meeting that other people have watched and been to and referred to, and I've traveled to the last 3 weeks and trying to play catch-up. But there's a lot of confusion, and maybe this helps. It really didn't help me. Is it your belief the 20 spots that we got when we signed this in 2009 or whatever it was are still owned by the town and will still be owned by the town?
The town, I guess this is a technical thing. The town has, do we own the land? No. Do we own the deed to those spots? Yes, we have 20 spots that the town regulates in that lot. It cannot be changed unless the town agrees to change that. By reading that, it even says that it can't be moved without the town agreeing to that. So those 20 spots are the town's spots.
Where are those spots, Mr.?
They're up on against the Elm Street sign, and they have signs above it that say municipal parking, or town parking, can't remember exactly the wording, but there's a bunch of spots in between for the Durham Book Exchange, and then it starts the municipal 20 spots.
So on 108?
No, on Elm Street.
Up against the...
Yeah,
It's
behind the library.
up on the parking. I
Near
think
the
it's-
library?
Yep.
You go up the ramp to the...
Yep.
Okay. So, and again, forget, I haven't seen the meetings. I'm going by what people have called and emailed me. Mr. Chinberg is using those 20 in his count, saying we have for the proposed thing at the garage.
This is a planning issue, but yes, you're allowed to use public parking in your formula if you receive a waiver from the planning board in your formulas. For example, if you had a business on Main Street, you're not going to have a lot for enough. You're allowed to get a waiver and consider, okay, I have 20 spots, or I've got X amount of spots on Main Street that could be used for my business. So yes, public parking can be used as part of the formula.
But if it's deeded to the town with the thinking of that for the library, a lot of the specific was so the library would have it.
This was not deeded for the library. It was deeded for public parking.
Okay, so it's public parking, and we already know we have a parking issue in town that I brought up, and Councilor Nazaro brought up for a couple of years, other people brought up. Anyone that tries to go downtown knows that. And they're used, so could an individual do that? Could I build a house and code enforcement officer say I need 4 spots? I say, well, I want those 2.
No, it's different because it's not public, because public parking, there's a sense that it's not permanent parking.
It sounds like a shell game, I guess.
Again, and I gotta say something. This isn't our purview. This is the purview of the planning board. Only thing we have authority over are those 20 spots. The planning board is the group that allows the waiver because the municipality provides public parking.
Right, but but what is ours is when constituents call me and say that there might be a shopping center, there might be a restaurant, and they're 20 owned to the town, and now indeed they might go to the shopping center, so now those people that wanted to walk down to Pintanello or walk to the library can't because now even though we're saying they're public, and the town owns them, it could go directly to Chinburg A, Chinburg B, Chinburg.
It's not earmarked for them. It's not, we're not saying that they're not saying they specifically, only they can use it. They're saying that as any other person in the community or anybody around, they can parking those spots. It's up to the town. If the town wants to regulate those spots, put 15-minute parking. Put half an hour on it. That regulates the flow and the turnover on those
How
spots.
about if we wanted to lease some of those spaces?
You could, good question. I'd have to look at it, but my assumption is it's our parking spots. We'd be able to lease those or permit them.
If we leased them, that would still be in his count?
I don't know. I'd have to
Well,
check that.
and one of the, and-
Again, this is
I
our
know it's not our area,
purview. I gotta make sure you
but then
understand that.
One of the
that-
questions they asked me was,
Yeah.
could we say 10 for library only, 10 lease? And someone brought that up. It gets some funds to the town and still help the library out. It's an important fixture in our town.
And again, at this point in time, I don't know what they could do for any plans already approved. But yeah, you could say library use only. Very difficult to enforce. But, I want to make sure it's understood. But those are public parking spots. So even if a business across the street, like say if somebody wanted to build a business on Elm Street, and they didn't have enough parking on the lot, they could use the same 20 spots as part of the formula. It's a first come, first serve. And the example I've used for other people that I've discussed is the city of Portsmouth. There's not a lot of parking in downtown. So what they use in part of their formula is the garage. That they have access to that garage as part of their parking, because it's public parking.
Council Wright.
I don't have it in front of me, but in the easement, it says 20 spaces to be used, or what's it for the library?
No, it's public. The parking easement should be non-exclusive use of the public. It should be.
No, it was on some other page. I thought it said the.
Option E shall locate the parking easement in locations that provide immediate access to the library.
Okay.
It doesn't say it's only for the library, it's just to give access to the library.
Okay.
It's still public parking.
Okay, fine.
I just have one, maybe you can get some clarification from the planner,
Mhm.
because I think we've all received a couple of calls, and I forwarded some emails to
Yep.
you, so, one of the things that was said at the meeting, one of the last planning board meetings, was if the Mills or Mr. Chinberg needs those spaces. See, this is where I do think we need to at least address it.
And I've got an
And
answer.
one of the, okay, so they said, if Mr. Chinberg needs those spots for his business, those are his, and people will be towed. And the takeaway, and that's why I think a few of us got phone calls, the takeaway was, if somebody was parking there and they needed a spot for one of the businesses over there, that, the person who was parking there that wasn't using that business could be towed, which I was a little surprised at when I heard that. So do you have?
That's not the fact. Those 20 spots cannot be towed unless the municipality tows a vehicle there.
Okay.
Let me finish. What was being discussed is that Mr. Chimberg's, and I'll say Newmarket, I don't like making it personal, it's Newmarket LLC, it's the business. They own the rest of the lot. They have said that they don't have an issue with other people parking there. If parking becomes a problem, say if everybody decides to start parking there, they will have to look at other ways to enforce their private parking lot. That does not mean the 20 spots that are deeded to the town. Those are always public spots unless the town regulates those
So
differently.
basically what you're saying is whoever signed off in 2009 signed off on it.
Then the only thing I would say is that's fine. I haven't, that's what it is, that's what it is. I think, and maybe it was the way it was interpreted, I think if you watch that meeting.
Which I did. Yep.
And you hear what was said, what I thought I heard, because somebody called me and asked me to watch it, what I thought I heard was maybe we should have given them 50 spots, meaning the town, but we didn't. We gave them, the town took 20 spots. And in the event that he, and I know what I heard, so maybe, there was a misunderstanding, but if those 20 spots are needed at some point for those businesses that are there, those are his, and that is what caused, I think, a few of
And
our
again,
phones to ring.
there was a confusion, and that is not the
Well,
fact.
so
That's why I wanted to
And that's why I want to make sure,
Yeah.
again, it keeps coming up, but it's not the fact. The fact is those 20 spots are the town's
Well, maybe that can be
spots.
clarified at the
I talked to the planner.
Okay.
I talked to her yesterday and today. to clarify, to make sure I was right, from the reading, and that was
Yeah.
exactly it. So
I'll
that,
bring it up in the meeting,
Yeah.
next planning board meeting.
Yeah, because, when you watched the meeting, wasn't that the impression?
I had to unravel it. Yes, there was impressions there that sounded like that was the issue. But I said, wait a minute, that doesn't sound right, and then when I went and found the agreement and provided copies of that, so.
So good, so maybe
Yep.
they can clarify that at the next meeting. And other than that, are there any other,
I don't know the date of the golf thing, but if it would be a disservice, Councilman Nazaro would certainly be bringing it up if he was here. And I'm not sure we're going to have another meeting before the veterans, the 18th, Saturday the 18th. So he will be here to say it the 15th. Okay, anyway, keep that on the.
Counselor Pickering?
Did Director Mulaski check that catch basin at 108 in
He-
Ash Swamp?
Yeah, he did. It's a state one, and they're gonna come out and look at it and figure out what they can do.
Thank you.
Yep.
Anyone else? Oh, yeah, we need to seal the minutes for the non-public.
Motion to seal non-public meetings from earlier, minutes from meeting earlier.
Do we have to mention the 91?
Nope.
The specific, okay. Do I have a second? Seal the minutes. Counselor Carmichael, please take the roll.
Counsel Wright?
Aye.
Counsel Pickering?
Aye.
Counsel Carmichael? Aye. Counsel Bentley?
Aye.
Counsel Levy?
Aye. Motion passes 5-0.
Motion adjourned?
Yeah, but our next meeting is May 15th, and it will be a workshop.
Yep.
Thank you very much, folks, for coming.
Wait a second, motion adjourned?
Oh, I'm sorry, that we, make a motion to adjourn.
I already did.
Second.
Second by Larry.
We are adjourned.
Steve?
Yeah.
This is installed.